Jones Music, and today we're going to be talking about arpeggios on the Irish Bouzouki. In this lesson we're going to learn what arpeggios are, how they're constructed, and how they can be a real added value to your playing on the Irish Bouzouki. In part 2 of the lesson, which you can find on my website, we're going to be looking at a whole range of different exercises to get you comfortable with the material that we're going to be discussing. If you enjoy this lesson, please like and subscribe to the channel, and with that being said, let's get into it. So let me ask you a question. How many different types of G major chord could you play on the Bouzouki? You might know this one. That's kind of your standard G, one finger to 2nd fret A string, and that's a G major chord. But there's also this, and 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 this. So everything I just played there would have been considered a different voicing of a G major chord. How did I know where to put my fingers? How did I know where all that stuff was? Well, the answer is because I've learned the G major arpeggio. So if you think about that standard G that we often hold, 2nd fret A string, you think about what different notes are in that. If you analyze each string, you go, okay, this is a G string, so G. This is a D string, D. This is the A string, but we're playing 2nd fret, so that's a B. So we go G, D, B, and then this top string is also D. So what we've learned there is that the G major chord is a collection of 3 different notes, isn't it? G, B, and D. And that is the first concept that you kind of want to understand, is that, yeah, chords aren't just single note things, they're collections of usually 3 notes. Okay, so what is an arpeggio? An arpeggio is the notes of a G major chord played in separation, right? So instead of that all together, G, B, D all being played at the same time, we're going to play them in separation. We're going to go G, B, D, G, B, D, G. Okay, so that's what an arpeggio is, notes of the chord played in separation. Okay, so how do we know which notes to play in our G major arpeggio, for example? So to get the answer to this question, you've got to go to the major scale. Okay, so G major scale, if you don't know it, it's this pattern, right? You start on your open G string, and then you're going to go 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, open D, 2nd fret, 4th fret, and then 5th fret. Okay, that's 1 octave G major scale. Okay, that's got 7 different notes in it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then when you reach this 8th note, that's the octave you've reached back to G. Okay, so this is like an important building block for a lot of the understanding that we're going to try and get in this lesson about arpeggios. The first thing that we need to do is learn and name each of those notes. This can take a little bit of time, but once you've done it, it's something that you'll never forget. So let's go through the notes of that major scale in order and name them. So the first note is G. Then the next note, because the musical alphabet is weird and doesn't make any sense, the next note is A. So 2nd fret G string is A. Then, logically enough, after A follows B. Then after B follows C. Okay, then we get to the open D string. Hopefully we know that's a D. It's the open D string. Then it's going to be an E. 2nd fret D. Now, this last note, it's F sharp, 4th fret, D string. And then, after F sharp, you're back to G. Okay, so 7 different notes in that major scale, and then you reach your octave. That scale repeats itself now in a higher octave. So let's try this. We go 5th fret D, that's a G. Then we're going to go open A, 2nd fret A, 3rd fret A, open top D, 2nd fret top D, 4th fret top D, 5th fret top D. Okay, that's a slightly different pattern to the low octave, but it's the same notes if you think about them again. So you start on 5th fret D, that's a G note, then A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, if you can go through the scale and sort of force yourself to say the notes out loud, that's a really good way of getting them in your head. I think it's the best and maybe the only way to really learn them. But once you've learned them, they never go away. You try and do it backwards. G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D, C, B, A, G. Okay, so once you've got an idea about the names of the notes that are appearing in that scale, you can start to build the arpeggio. So we said before that the arpeggio is the notes of the chord played in separation. So how do we find those notes? So arpeggios are usually constructed of 3 different notes. The root note, so in the case of G major, that would be G, right? So that's pretty self-explanatory, the root note. Then we need the 3rd and then we need the 5th. Okay, so this is where the major scale comes in handy. We go to that major scale and we do some counting. G is number 1. We go 1, 2, 3. Okay, that gets us to where? To B. Okay, so that's just told us that B is the 3rd of G. Okay, and what else do we need? The 5th. Okay, so again, we do some counting. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We reach a D note, and that is telling us that D is the 5th of G. Okay, so you've just found the 3 notes of a G major arpeggio, G, B, D. Okay, so what you want to do now is learn this as a shape in the first position. You're going to play all those notes wherever they appear. So G, B, D. Then we repeat ourselves, right? Back to G, B, top D, and you've got another G up there, 5th fret, top D. Do it backwards. Okay, as you're playing that, I think it's a good idea to say the names of the notes, maybe, you know, G, B, D, G, B, D, G, G, D, B, D, D, G. Also think of it as a, you know, a visual shape, because that's going to be important when we come on to, you know, how to use these arpeggios in context. Think about the fingers you use as well. You know, first finger is only used for 2nd fret A string. 3rd finger is used for your low B, and then otherwise it's a little finger job. So you're trying to see this arpeggio as a unified shape. So if you get to know that arpeggio really well, it gives you a lot of good content. Okay, so it tells you all of your potential G major double stops. So a double stop is, you know, 2 strings usually played at the same time. It's like a mini chord. So you think about that arpeggio and you think about the possible combinations of notes you can have in it. Think about your bottom 2 strings. You could have this, you could have this, you could have open and open, 5th and open. Think about the middle 2 strings, 5th and 2nd, open and 2nd, 5th and 5th. You know, all of these would be considered, you know, viable double stops or mini chords to be using over a G chord. Okay, so if you know the arpeggio well, you get all that information. The arpeggio also tells you all the different varieties of G chord that you can play. So we started off by just looking at this basic G chord, didn't we? The open G, open D, 2nd fret A for a B note, and then open top D. Okay, now thinking about the arpeggio, what could you do differently here? What could you add on the top D string? Okay, think about the arpeggio. Oh, you've got this top G note, so you can add that in there. Okay, what could you add on the G string? Okay, so with this as the basis, you know, think about the arpeggio again. Open G, B. Okay, that's telling me that I can play that B in a G chord as well. That you can play that shape over a G chord. Okay, so, you know, it's up to you to kind of explore these arpeggios and find as many different combinations as you can. So if you've learnt that arpeggio shape really well, that's also going to open the door now to exploring, like, you know, different types of chords and chord characteristics. So currently we're playing a G major chord, right? The major chords are the happy chords. But you've also got minor chords, the sad chords, or the evil chords. Okay, so this is worth thinking about now. What's the difference between a major and a minor chord? There's only one difference, and that is the 3rd. Okay, so remember we said that each chord is made of 3 different notes, root, 3rd, and 5th. In the case of G major, it's G, B, D. To make that G minor, you just have to change the 3rd, so the B. What you have to do with it is flatten it. So that means move it down by 1 semitone. So instead of B, we're going to move down to this note, which is B flat, 3rd fret G string. Okay, so now you've got a G minor chord. You think about your G major arpeggio, but you are going to play B flat instead of B. So you've got G, B flat, D, G, B flat, D, D. You know, only one note different. You know, that's opening the door then to lots of different varieties of G minor chord. Okay, I wonder how many of you have heard the term power chord before, obviously from rock music, sure. But power chords also come in really handy on the Bouzouki, although they don't usually call them power chords, they usually call them 5 chords, or sometimes I've heard them called starved chords. But basically what a power chord is a chord without a 3rd in it. So we just found out, right, that the 3rd is what makes a chord major or minor. So if you've got, you know, in G major, if it's G, B, D, that's G major. If it's G, B flat, D, that's G minor. Okay, but what if we take out that third and we just don't play it? Let's play a chord that only has the root and the fifth in it. This is what a power chord is. So why don't we look at this one? We go open G, 5th fret D, which is another G note, then 5th fret A, which is a D note, and then 5th fret top D, which is a G note. So there we've got G, G, D, G. Pretty G heavy chord. You've got one instance of the 5th there. So that's a nice chord and very useful. If you think about the classic D chord that we play on the Bouzouki, this, which is a different chord, but that is also a power chord. It's got no third in it. You know, this is a different chord, but you've got A, D, which is the 5th and the root, 5th and the root. But yeah, power chords are useful because you can use them over major or minor melodies. So you can sing a major melody over that power chord there. La, nice and happy. Or you could sing a minor melody. So very flexible chords, those power chords. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good amount of information to have taken in. If you're new to this stuff today, you've learned the G major arpeggio, how it's built, why it's useful, and you've also learned a couple of ways to vary it into a G minor and maybe even a G power chord. So obviously today we've only talked about G, but there's a lot of other arpeggios that you have to learn on the Bouzouki. There's some really, really important ones, and we're going to be going over all of them in part 2. In part 2, we're going to be covering about 17 of the most important arpeggios. The question is then, how you get this stuff in your head, how you, really thoroughly learn it. And that's where the exercises come in. So in part 2 of the lesson, there's also going to be a big series of exercises that you should apply to each arpeggio. So we're going to be looking at things like groups of 4 exercises, groups of 3, thirds, and a few other things as well to get you super, super confident on a series of different arpeggios, and hopefully this is going to open your eyes a bit and enable you to see the fretboard in a different way. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this lesson. I appreciate it's been a little bit of a theory heavy, eat your vegetables kind of lesson, but this stuff is really useful and hopefully it'll add a new dimension to your playing. You can find part 2 of this lesson on my website, where there's also a growing collection of other Irish Bouzouki resources. If you're enjoying these lessons in general, you could subscribe to my website for a monthly subscription to access all of my content. Thank you for listening, and I hope you get on well with these arpeggios.